Right folks, sport today. Right, we've got a bit of football, bit of rugby, bit of snooker. I'll tell you what, I'll start with the snooker first. Read something earlier, you may or may not have seen it from, is it Dave Gilbert? I think it was Dave Gilbert. Good potter. Decent enough fella by the looks of things. He's come up with a few ideas that he thinks will bring snooker into the 21st century. He says it's all a little bit old hat and a little bit boring, and it needs to zhuzh itself up. One of the things he came up with was shorter matches. He said, why do we have these best of 19 in anything? He said, the World Championship, I get that. We used to have it in the qualifiers, I think they don't now. He said, we shouldn't have it in anything. He said, and these comps, where they start best of 9 or best of 11, and then the final goes to 19 or whatever it may be. He said, why do that? Why not keep it shorter? He said, keeping it shorter gives the also-rans more of a chance of winning. He said, because the longer format always plays more into the hands of the better player. He said, you'll get more upsets with the shorter format. He said, I think that's fair. Plus, it keeps the better player on the toes. But the real thing he mentioned, and I can understand where he's coming from, he mentioned the misrule. He said, the misrule is crazy. It really is. He said, that is a rule that really holds up the game and really should and could be refined. He said, let's face it, he said, the misrule, he said, when we snookered and we're supposed to hit a ball, we're always worried about what we're going to leave. He said, we're always worried. He said, and consequently, we'll miss 2 or 3 times until we're not allowed to miss any more before we hit that easier ball or before we hit a ball that we know we can hit. He said, we try for the ball that's harder where we just glance it away and the white comes back down the bottom because we don't want to leave anything on. He said, you're not telling me somebody like Selby, who knows every angle on the snooker table, or young McManus, not so young anymore, who knows just as many and more, can't hit any ball on the table from any snooker. He said, because they can. He said, but we're all guilty of the same thing. We all try to leave nothing. He said, I do it myself because that's the snooker rules. He said, but what tends to happen is you hit the wrong ball or wrong balls and you've got to put them all back. You've got the TV coming, the TV people looking at where the ball's wasted. It takes forever. He said, what it should be to my mind is if you miss a ball, he said, snooker and that, if you miss a ball, it should be ball in hand. And I thought, he said, it'll speed the game up. He said, and it'll make people hit balls. And I sort of got that, but I thought, no. You don't want ball in hand, even if there's still 6 reds left. The greatest potters in the world will line up a red, then on a colour, all of a sudden they're on a break, and that next break can win the frame. You don't want that, but what I would do when he said it, I thought, well, why don't they? I mean, not that they're going to change it anyway, but why don't they? If a ball is missed, say, the guy that set the snooker is allowed to pick the ball up, put it anywhere in the circle, not behind the line, but in the semicircle, where you'd normally break from, and it's his choice to go next, or to put the guy who missed the snooker back in. He can do whatever he wants. If there's something that he thinks he's on, a pot, or if he thinks there's another snooker to be laid, or whatever it may be, another safety shot, he goes. And if he doesn't fancy anything, or he wants the other guy to miss something, he puts the other guy in. That to me would be fairer. That to me would be a lot fairer, because what you do every single time that you're looking at making snookers or getting out, you're going to look at what's on from that semicircle. It's better than ball in hand anywhere on the table. Semicircle's fair enough, but not anywhere on the table, because you can just put your white ball behind a red. That's not on, I don't think. Rugby league, we'll leave football till last. I've just seen the squad today for the Samoa Internationals. There's 2 of it, one at the end of this month and one the week after, first week in November. And just one omission surprised me. I mean, I'm not that invested in it because I'm not that keen on internationals unless we play New Zealand or Australia. We normally get beat against both, but they're more competitive then, although Samoa ain't too bad. But it's a game against Samoa. The season's over. It's like an after the Lord Mayor's show, really. But I've seen the team, and I've seen it, and one noticeable pick was, is it Luke Thompson? He's got in, yet he's eligible for the first game because he's been banned. He could play the second game, but not the first. And then Chris Hill's also in. Chris Hill's just lost his club. He's been let go by Huddersfield because he's not the greatest of seasons, and he's been injured a fair bit as well. And I'd heard rumours I was thinking of retiring or dropping down a division. So why put him in? Why put Thompson in? There's a guy missing there from Lee. Is it Mulhern? I think it's Mulhern. Had a crackerjack of a season, a really good season. Leah, not quite as fashionable as the St Helens and the Leeds and the Wiggins, and dare I say the Wires. And I think he's not going just because of who he played for. And I don't think that's on. I mean, even if you're picking Hill, Thompson can't play in the first game. Pick Mulhern for the first game for the squad, get him around the squad, maybe get him 20 minutes somewhere. And if he plays well, have him for the second game. And if not, drop him and bring your man in Thompson who's banned. Surely that's fairer. I don't know what Mo Mulhern could have done this year to get in. Football. football. Well, I got a message last night from Dav in the comment section. I've seen it, Dav. It was really late on when I went to bed, about 1:15. Never had a chance to reply to it, not replied to a single comment today. I'm going to tonight, but I've been busy. He's on about the various injuries at United there, and he's got a story there about Højlund. I think a story about the full-back that's just recently had the heart issue and the operation to correct that. And the things he's saying, maybe they're common knowledge, I've not read them. If he's right, it's just shocking. I read something today to say, I think it said that United had the worst injury list in the whole of Europe last year. I think that's what I read. It was horrendous. I think Newcastle is really bad as well, but ours was horrendous. And let's face it, Eric kept pointing to the injury list, and rightly so. But you've got to ask, why on earth do we keep getting these injuries? It's year upon year upon year, the last 3 years. And if Davy's right, he's saying we've bought the fullback knowing he's got an heart issue. We've bought Højlund knowing that there's an issue there as well. And you're thinking, well, if that's the case, and I don't know if it is, that's horrendous. This young boy I keep hearing is mooted to come back is Milicia. He's mooted to come back. Now, I don't know if I'm right. I'm going to say what I've heard. I heard this like 8 or 9 months ago now. The brother-in-law was saying to me, he's not injured, he's not that bad. He's got some issues with the police. He's been mixing with the wrong crowd, and he's got himself in trouble by association. Now, I don't know if that's true, but he said it's all over social media. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm only repeating what I've heard, and as I say, I'm saying now it may not be true. So I'm not accusing the lad of anything, but that's what I've heard. I've heard it now of 2 people, and I'm thinking, if that's the case, why is he still at the club? And then we noticed Tuchel today. Tuchel's got the gig for England. Let me just see what I was going to say about old Thomas. They brought him in. Before we get on to his contract and what he may or may not do, I note at the same time that he's been taken on. You've got Big Sam. Big Sam's put his 2 pence in and said, they shouldn't have picked him. They shouldn't have had Tuchel. They didn't need to go for him. They've got enough British coaches. Have they? He said, what about Lee Carsley? He's not done that, but he's done great with under-21s. And I'm thinking, not had a lot of experience though, has he, Sam? Then he said, what about Howe? Well, that was a big choice for lots of jobs. But for all he did well at Bournemouth, he's not done bad at Newcastle, but all the same, he's not pulling up trees. And then he mentions Gerrard and Lampard. Well, Gerrard did okay at Rangers. He didn't really anywhere else. He's had to go Saudi to take the dollar because he couldn't get a top job. Lampard's had 2 or 3 jobs. He's looked like a rabbit in the headlights. Top flight management doesn't seem to suit him at the moment. He might have to start in Division 2, start all over again, and he may come good. But up to now, he's looked like a bit of a Wayne Rooney as a manager. How on earth could you give him the job? And then I'm thinking, Sam, what's it got to do with you? You had the job and lost it and shouldn't have done. You made your own mistakes there, me old son. You made your own mistakes. So I'd leave it to the FA and Tuchel. What I'll say about the FA and Tuchel is I think it's a pretty brave move. Not so much that he's foreign, but that he's also German. There was a big thing with British and German in the last few years, but it's smoothing over now. But he's a winner. He's a proven winner. He gets people's backs. Of course he does. But he's his own man. He sticks to his own guns and whatever else. And I like that. Will we do well with him? I think we could do pretty well. But what disappoints me is the length of the contract, 18 months. I think they needed somebody to come in like Pep, maybe even like Tuchel, mentioned Pep yesterday. And he needs 3 comps, he needs 2 World Cups and the Euros. Now, don't get me wrong, it might not have been that the FA didn't want to give him the contract. It's probably more that he said, give me 18 months and then we'll review. But the FA should have wanted somebody, and if they thought they got the right man as a long-term prospect, get him in long-term. Then if it's not working, you can always bullet them. All right, it's going to cost, but you bullet them. Or they walk, or whatever it may be, the old mutual consent. But I'm not sure 1 tournament's enough, and the fact that it's where it is, different time zone and totally different heat-wise, they're up against it anyway there. So whatever they do there, if they get to the latter stages, it'll to an extent be classed as a success. You want to see how he copes on these shores and in Europe, and how he copes against the best teams, and can he win anything? Because for all the English want another World Cup, I say another, they'd settle for Euros. We're not winning it for 60 years, they'll settle for Euros, there's no doubt about that. We just can't get over that line. And I'm amazed they've only gone 18 months, I think it's strange. Then the last thing is I'm hearing today, they're asking him, will he sing the national anthem? Leave the man alone, cut him some slack. He's saying he doesn't know, he should have just said, no, I won't. I'm German, he's British. God save the king, he said, he's not my king, it's nothing to do with me. They shouldn't have asked him, number 1. Number 2, say he sticks to his guns and he's his own man. He should have said, no, I'm not going to. Never mind, I'm going to think about it. I won't go over to Germany and sing their national anthem. I don't even know it. And I don't want to learn it. And I won't sing it. Why would he sing ours? Leave the man alone. Let him manage the team. Never mind national anthems. It means nothing. It means nothing. It's all that now. I don't know. That's it for sports. I think we've got a racing one to go and we're done for the day. Thanks for staying with it, folks. Much appreciated. That's only my take, by the way. I obviously don't think like everybody else does.